Increasingly, one hears stories of churches torn apart because of controversy. And now that we live in an age of internet has almost guaranteed that if a church is large and influential enough, any trouble inside the church will spill over to the internet through web blogs, chat rooms, and anonymous emails. Because we live in a generation where a lie is the new truth, and you are no longer innocent until proven guilty. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat has allowed people to create a false narrative that has the ability to go viral with no accountability or validation attached to it. And the Bible speaks of this over in Jeremiah chapter 7. Verse 6 and 8, he says, and maybe on the screen, he speaks of it. He says, if ye oppress not the stranger, the fatherless and the widow, that shed not the innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt, then will I cause you to dwell in this place, in the land that I gave your fathers forever and ever. But here it is in verse 8, behold, you trust in lying words that cannot profit. The NIV version says in verse 8, but look, you trust in deceptive words that are worthless. In other words, it is no longer in God we trust, but is in lies we trust. The problem is not just the world problem, but it is also a church problem. And so Paul pleads with us to take heed to a few things that has the ability to rip a church apart and cause this disease of division to affect the body. And when we look at the text, we see here that there is a plea of vigilance here. In verse 17, I appeal to you, brothers, to watch out for those who cause division and create obstacles contrary to the doctrine that you have been taught. Avoid them. When Paul says watch out, he's not speaking of people outside the church. This isn't a warning about persecution from outsiders, but from the trouble caused by people already in the church. He is talking about church members, teachers, youth leaders, choir members, group leaders, preachers, deacons, deaconess, trustees. I can call the roll. In essence, he is saying that something is wrong with them on the inside. The King James Version, it says it this way. It says, mark them that cause division. In Nathaniel Hawthorne's novel, The Scarlet Letter, Hester Prynne was forced to wear a scarlet letter A because she was convicted of adultery. I want to suggest that perhaps we should ask some church members to wear a large T on them for troublemakers, so that we can identify them when they come into church. Matter of fact, since we are living in a digital age where everybody like to post a picture, maybe we should post their picture on the screen so that when the ushers see them coming in the door, they can sit them in the troublemaking section. Because it is interesting how we love to expose and keep our eyes on the adulterer, the fornicator, the young mother that had the baby out of wedlock, but don't acknowledge the man that ran game for her to come over and watch Netflix, knowing that they didn't renew that $7.99 subscription. We expose everybody, but we will give a pass and tolerate the Christian that caused chaos in the church. But here Paul says there will be people like that. He says, this is not what Watson says, it's in the text. He says, Paul says, mark them. In other words, he says, notice them, watch out for them. It's like going to the doctor, he finds something suspicious. And so he says, let's watch that for a while. And when you find people who have a tendency to cause chaos, watch them carefully. You heard of the saying, there's some home wreckers. But the Bible teaches there's also church wreckers. There are those that are assigned to the church not to build up the church, but to tear it down. There are those who have a negative opinion about everything that is being done. There are those that instead of having a God-centered conversation with the pastor over vision they may not understand, they spread gossip and fake news among the congregation. They attempt to recruit others in their army to attempt to overthrow and dismantle the work that is being done. They are the ones that won't give a dime to the work of the ministry because they have created a false narrative that the pastor is making too much money, or the resources that they are given to the church is not being properly allocated. But Paul says, mark them. I done lost some of y'all in here. And watch out for them. The question is how do you spot people like this? I ran across an interesting article some time ago by Douglas Wilson called The Genesis of Church Splits. He points out on the basis of James chapter 4, verses 1 to 6, that the basic problem is envy. Envy is misdirected desire. We want something we don't have. We want power, influence, authority, position, recognition. And unhappy church members want what they don't have, so they gossip, they spread rumors, they pick fights like crazed rats trapped in a maze, all in a desperate attempt to have what they don't have. Envy says is particularly potent in the realm of religious politics. This is because envy knows how to disguise itself in many different ways. Dear to the hearts of the Pharisees everywhere, envy can readily appear as a zeal of orthodox or righteous indignation or concern for the poor or high musical standards for the choir or a missional concern. But however it appears, it is quickly and necessarily a source of conflict. Then he goes on to list some of the marks of those who cause chaos in the church. Even though the issues different from place to place, cantankerous people tend to share common traits. For instance, they often have a track record of previous misbehaviors. Some of you trying to figure out why we trying to figure out where you come from. We're trying to figure out where you come from because we want to know what you did where you came from. They have caused trouble in other churches or on the job, or they have disputes with neighbors or different boards. Unhappy people tend to be unhappy everywhere they go. It don't matter where they are. They could be on the beach in the most fabulous remote island. They're just unhappy. And second here, they tend to be in contact with a vast company. Here it is. This is the part I like. Of nameless others who share their concerns. They claim to represent a host of others, frustrated people who for some reason are never actually named. You know, I used to get down, Deacon Hunt down, Chester. And it hasn't happened here yet, but I used to have it down Chester. Folks used to come, to me and say, Pastor, all these people said this. And I used to say, well, can you give me a list of all the people who said this? And they wind up being nameless people. Because those who are unhappy connects themselves with nameless others. They claim to represent a host of other frustrated people who for some reason won't ever be named. They sometimes become quick friends too quickly, so that they can claim to feel betrayed by you. They flatter, they attack. They pose the same question over and over, never satisfied with an answer already given. They want to fight the same battles until they win. And nothing you say satisfies them. They often lie or shade the truth. Sometimes they justify their manipulation because they are doing the Lord's work. The Bible says, beware of those who are always taking notes at odd times, or who haul around large folders full of documents. They sometimes demand exemption from the established procedures and the right to bypass normal processes. They have to have a cause to fight for in order to be happy. They often congregate with other unhappy people in the fellowship of the aggrieved. Note how Paul puts it. He says these chaotic Christians cause division in the church. In other words, they create obstacles that contradict the truth they claim to believe. And perhaps the clearest warning of this can be found in Acts chapter 20, verse 29 through 30, where Paul warns the Ephesians elders. He says in Acts chapter 20, verse 29, "For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter among you, not sparing the flock." Can I read it again? And Bishop, I know you don't like me to use you, but could I put you on here? After your departing, grievous wolves enter in among you. We couldn't do it to the bishop, so let me see if we can do it to Watson. After your departing, grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things to draw away disciples after them. Oh my God, I can remember the 5 years I stayed here, Pastor. You awesome, Pastor. You the best assistant pastor. You did this. I've learned a long time ago, don't take accolades from man, because soon after, accolades can change. Praise will change. That's why you ought not to seek accolades from man, but you ought to want to hear God say, "Well done."